right off the bat, I was a little disappointed in this episode, but I think it has a lot to do with the outcome. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the episode yet, we are going to talk about who goes home in Survivor South Africa Season 7, Episode 4. But it also had to do with the tribe swap. It had to do with, as I mentioned, who goes home. But also I think the momentum that we have had with the first 3 episodes were incredible. So this one felt a little bit of a downer. That's to be expected. They can't have those firecracker episodes every episode. I thought the challenge was grand. But let's go through it. Firstly, I was a little disappointed as well that in the previous tribal council where Ting Ting went home, that the clues, I beg your pardon, that the votes against Quibus weren't read, because I think if that had happened, there would have been a lot more dynamite. There would have been a lot more conflict and arguments at camp. I was a little surprised, actually. I don't know Quibus at all, but I was a little surprised at how quiet he was when they returned back from the beach. Returned back to the beach after tribal council. I felt like maybe I had overestimated his need for a little verbal jostling, shall we say. It was nice to see that Meryl actually had quite a bit to say. Obviously, Felix has a lot to say about that vote, and Ting Ting going home. I actually was surprised that Jacques didn't get a lot more. Maybe we just weren't shown it. There was a lot that happened in the episode. So maybe we just didn't get a lot of actually the backlash from that vote where Jacques, after we all look at it, just completely wasted his idol, voted out his closest ally, put a huge target on his back. I think that if anybody benefited most from the tribal swap, it was probably Jacques, as well as maybe Tanya. Then we go to the next day and off they go. They pack their bags. It's always an indication of something happening. And Nico says drop their buffs. That wasn't a big surprise for us because the preview to the episode did mention that there was going to be a shuffle. So they did drop their buffs. I thought that they would shuffle into 2 tribes in the next episode. The 3 tribes, I don't know. I think maybe the fact that it was a little underwhelming, the episode, and there was less fire and brimstone was maybe because of the 3 tribes. I know they will go to 2 and it will create the drama that I'm looking for. Bear with me, I had this conversation with a fellow castmate of mine about how I thought maybe that if they'd gone into 2 tribes with a lot of people, there would have been opportunity to have bigger alliances within the tribes, but more of them. So if they were, 9 and 9, they would have had 2, maybe 3 smaller alliances. So I thought that would create a lot more drama, and just having that many people on an island and talking and getting to know one another and all of that might have been a little bit more impactful than the 3 tribes. Although I think the 3 tribes worked out a lot better for some of the individual players. But Rosalie and Doral on Lau Mei, who had never lost anything, were still 7 strong, I think were the biggest losers of the day. We also saw Tanya returning from her trip down to Islands of Secrets. She was safe from the vote. I think a lot of people were like, excuse me, what? Safe from what now? It was an interesting return. She came with her big staff. I just want to address a comment there. Loudmouth, who dropped me a message on the previous video, said that Dante blew his lid after the vote. Nobody jumps my ship. Yeah, Dante is coming to the fore as a character. He was a little quiet in the first 2 episodes. Episode 3 sort of stepped forward as this character and is now sort of stepping into quite a bitchy role, actually. He is very direct. He basically was a mean girl to Tanya at one stage. And yeah, he's turning out to be quite an interesting character, an interesting player. One of the players, however, is Dante, one of his things is that it's like, don't lie to me, you know, be honest. Do you know what game you're playing, bro? No. Anyway. So Dante, for me, is good value for TV. He's one of the stronger characters at the moment. He is one of the people who seems to be, I don't know if he's playing strategically, but he's certainly out there to make alliances and to dominate. He just wants to dominate. And in the physical challenge, he really is quite a force to be reckoned with. Talking about the tribes, okay, so it's now quite difficult to keep track of who is where. So I have to refer to my mnet.co.za, the Survivor essay page, because I need to keep track of who is who. So Lau Mei is Durao, who actually I got a text in the middle of the episode from a friend of mine saying, Johnny, listen, who is this Durao character and where did he come from? Why is he on the island? Because nobody actually knew that he was there. So welcome to Survivor SA Durao. It's nice to have you as part of the cast. Felix is there and he is just feeling himself, isn't he? He is this dominant character who's just seems like the king of his island and people must do things for him. Did you see how he was like, bro, open that coconut and do that to Jacques? Okay. And Jacques doesn't seem to be one to take it, so that dynamic is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. And Jacques, as I mentioned, is also on Lau Mei with Felix. Sipei, who was there, was sent to the Islands of Secret, didn't seem to be very happy to be sent to the Islands of Secrets. Honey Boo Boo, you were sent to the Island of Secrets and you lasted another day. Survivor is all about lasting one more day. So she got given a lifeline from her former Samoa tribe. And the fact that Samoa tribe actually had the gumption to actually win that internal vote, because you are essentially saving somebody from being voted out, and obviously you're going to want to save somebody who's in your tribal lines, the previous tribes. So it's interesting how the other people who are on their tribe just accepted that Sipei could go to the Island of Secrets. Maybe that conversation was longer and we got a bit of an edit, but it seemed to be a quick decision that was made. So anyway, and then of course our favorite character is Tanya, who is also landed up on Lau Mei, who seems a little bit more calm. And I think what happens is when you get to the island, your first thought is to show people who you are and to try and put a foothold somewhere, and all of your personality comes out. It's like a personality vomit. Bleh, here I am, this is what I am, blah. And that's what Tanya was for the first couple of days. She seems to have calmed a bit, and I think also her EQ might be a little bit low, so she wasn't aware of how people were perceiving her. And maybe that's an edit as well, but she seems a little bit more aware now, but actually people are just telling her, you're being irritating. And when she went to the Islands of Secrets, something switched, and she was like, those people are dead to me. I'm going to go into a new tribe. And I called it, and I think a lot of people was pretty clear that she would go to Samoa or the members of Samoa. And when she was walking off the beach, I did watch the episode twice, episode 3, she thanked Sipei, saying thank you for saving me. So my initial thought was wherever Sipei went, that Tanya would go as well, which is exactly what happened. So that is Lau Mei, Durao, Felix, Jacques, Sipei, Tanya, and Rosalie. Spoiler alert, she goes home. Durao and Rosalie have never lost a challenge, an immunity challenge, so they've never had to go to tribal council, so their tribe is still 7. They unfortunately got the bad end of the luck stick, and people often slam me for talking about luck at tribal council, but have a look at this game. Because of a lucky draw, they didn't land up in a tribe with a majority alliance, and unfortunately Durao and Rosalie were at the bottom. So we'll get to their campaigning or lack thereof in a minute, but let's go through who are on the other tribes. So Samoa is now Quibus, Jeffrey, Mike, Maba, Nathan, Steffi. That one also is a majority former Lau Mei tribe. So they've got Jeffrey, Mike, and Maba as the majority in that alliance, and poor Nathan and Steffi on the bottom. They're still quite a physically dominant tribe. Quibus is pretty strong. Mike has turned out in some of the speed things not so great. Nathan and Steffi are obviously dynamite when Nathan is not sore. Then we've got Taula, which is Dante, and as I mentioned before, he is sort of stepping up to be quite a character in the show, and I'm quite enjoying his bitchiness, actually. Letitia is there with her boy Rocco, which is great to see. So there's a 2. In that tribe, it's 2-2-2. So it's going to be interesting if they do go to tribal council, how that dynamic will play out. Whether Rocco will flip on Letitia for strength, or whether he will stick with his previous tribal lines will be interesting to see. On that tribe is also Nicole and Rob, so the 2 Saula, Nicole, Rob, it's Letitia and Rocco as the former Laumei, and then there is the Taula former members, which is confused here. Taula was Dante and Meryl. So that tribe is going to be the most interesting for me to see if they do go to tribal council, how that 2-2-2 will split. So that's the people in the tribes. They go to their challenge. I loved that challenge, by the way. Something that we had never seen before. And it's one of those classic team building challenges. Have you ever been to team building where you've had to do that thing and walk on those planks with the people? They had a hinge in there, so it worked a little differently. But can we just say, Durao, bro, shame. He was absolutely awful. All you had to do is stay on a thing under your feet. Oh man, he tanked that whole challenge, and had he been able to do it marginally, he would have given his tribe a lot more time to throw the sandbags on the boxes, which they seem pretty decent at. So I think I think actually Rosalie got a bad deal, because Durao tanked that challenge. They got to a split. Doing the split, he tanked the challenge for his tribe, and they chose Rosalie to go home above Durao, which for me was a terrible choice. He was absolutely awful. He's been absolutely nowhere in the season. I don't know him, but I thought that Rosalie had a lot more to offer in terms of character. But I guess maybe they look at Rosalie as somebody who's going to be a lot more of a threat against them. She's smart, she was well spoken, she's likable, she's beautiful. All of those things played against Durao, I think. Played against Rosalie, sorry, so she was voted out. I thought that the 2 of them did very little campaigning. I was actually really, really disappointed. There was opportunity, and just by the vibe in the camp and the dynamic between Jacques and Felix, there is cracks there. And the fact that Tanya had been away from the camp, there's a crack there. You know, the fact that Sipe was gone, there's a crack there. So I thought that there was opportunity for them to at least plead a case, and they went for a fake idol play. And they did it against one of the biggest fans of Survivor in the world. Jacques is a huge Survivor fan, and you tried to play the fake idol game on him. Unfortunately as well for you is that Jacques knew the clue and already had the idol, because he's basically an idol magnet. They can just drop out of the sky into his lap at this point. So bad play on them. I'm just going to address some of the comments quickly. Marius Hayes says, don't you think Tanya is going to last a while still? People are already starting to use her for numbers, similar as Tom in your season. People did not like him at the beginning, but he grew on some. I do think Tanya is going deep into the game, not only because of her personality, but actually because she's thinking strategically. There are a lot of players here that are just like coasting along, and they'll play when they have to. As I mentioned in the last conversation we had, the Laumei tribe has not actually had to play Survivor yet because they've never been to tribal council. That is really bizarre for you as a tribe. In the throw forward to the next episode, they will be somebody talks about throwing challenges. Oh my God. Are we there? It is the worst strategy ever in Survivor to throw a challenge. I don't care how annoying somebody is. I had to live with Martinez. My tribe had to live with me, and they wanted to throw a challenge to get rid of me. I think it's a terrible idea. But I do think that Tanya is thinking strategically. She went to Sipe because she knew that Sipe saved her, and they could be a really good dynamic duo. And I actually think Sipe is probably the only one that's met Tanya who's willing to work with her. So I do think that Tanya is going to go further into the game. Very, very interesting character. I love her to pieces as a TV character. The problem that I have with her is is she going to be mentally stable and trustworthy and stick to plans? Because I do think that Durao and Rosalie missed an opportunity to try and wangle with her. She didn't seem to be very close to Felix as in a relationship, friendships on the island. There was opportunity for them to go to her and start to play the game. As Jacques as well, the way Felix talked to Jacques, there was obviously an insecurity there to deal with and play with Jacques, to be like, guy, you are nowhere, these people hate you, you're such an underdog, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't. And that was really disappointing. They went with the opportunity of play a fake idol, and it's just a terrible idea. And anyway, that's aside. Loudmouth also said, Rocco was a challenge beast again. Your view. Will it save him or be his downfall? It depends on his tribe. He is in a really, really strong tribe at the moment. And I don't think, if they have any kind of physical challenge, that tribe won't lose. They've got Nicole, Rob, Rocco, Dante, and Meryl. The only person there who could maybe put a little of a hold back is Letitia. But Letitia, we don't know. She could be an absolute brilliant puzzle maker. You don't know. We haven't had a lot of big puzzles except for the first episode. So if it comes down to a point where it is physical challenge and then puzzle, and Letitia smashes it out the park, they're safe. I think Rocco at this point in this tribe that he's landed up on, and luck, the survivor gods were in his favor, because he may never see tribal council and they may make the merge. So it all depends on what happens. But I think he's got a very, very good chance of going deep. When he gets to merge, if he loses anything, he will be gone. He is far too physically dominating. He's too strong. He's actually quite a nice guy, it turns out. So that is also a problem. And I think the first time he loses individual immunity, he will be gone. He doesn't have any sort of idols. So I do think that he won't win Survivor. That's my prediction. Let's talk about some of the others. Let's talk about the reward for a moment, shall we? Because Steers is an absolutely brilliant sponsor of Survivor, and I don't care what you think about the sponsors in Survivor. Mahindra, Biostrat, Steers, Pep Union Mart. I don't care how blatant the advertising is. It makes the season possible. We have to pay our bills in South Africa. Remember, the rand is 15 rand to $1 at the moment. That means that we go into any country, we have to pay a lot of rands to make a season of Survivor. I don't care if they branded our buffs with Steers on them. If it meant that we can make another season of Survivor, I'm happy for it. I don't care about any of the plugging that the castaways have to do. At this point, also, if you see Steers, trust me, the words that were coming out of those people's mouths about what the food that they were putting in the mouth, that wasn't scripted. They didn't get asked to do that. That was their actual emotional response to getting proper food in their mouths. And it's early on. I think our first food reward were maybe chicken wraps that weren't rice and spices and that sort of thing. And I think that it made people cry. So it's hugely rewarding to get proper food like that. So Steers, thank you. Keep being part of Survivor. It also adds a really nice element to the rewards that get given on Survivor. Marius Hayes says people with muscles like that do not win Survivor. You're absolutely correct, they don't. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I see the same thing with Rob and Nathan. They're going to struggle when they get to, well, Nathan, who knows, if he doesn't get injured again. I'm being a bitch again. I've never met Nathan. A bunch of the castaways from my season got together. They met Nathan and they watched this previous episode all together. I unfortunately didn't make it, but I don't know Nathan, but he's set himself up to be that guy. He always gets injured. He's like Jean de Villiers in rugby. He's made of paper. I think Steffi as well is also, if she makes it to merge, is also Steffi and Nicole, just purely because of their physical dominance, I think also will have a hard time in the merge. Who else? Nice to see Meryl coming out and having a couple of confessionals, a bit of screen time. A lot of the reaction to Jacques' vote. Also, Meryl had some voiced opinions there, which is nice. C-Pay going to Islands of Secret. She was disappointed she didn't get an advantage as well. But think about Islands of Secrets. Islands of Secrets may be leaning too far for me. Islands of Secrets, first you get immune for the votes. I don't know if that's going to be the case for every person who gets sent to the Islands of Secrets. I just want to quickly address this from Maurice Hayes again before it disappears. Win survival without an idol or winning multiple immunities in a row. First chance a merged tribe gets, they will vote you out. Okay, I think you're talking about the physical dominance. Exactly. What was I talking about? Asipe, Islands of Secrets. She was disappointed that she didn't have an opportunity for an advantage, but the Islands of Secrets is already a huge advantage. You're getting immune from a vote. That doesn't happen. That's never happened. And now it's a thing. It's the second time running. I'm not sure if it will continue into the next episode. But Tanya got basically 3 things from her trip to Islands of Secrets. She got immune from the vote. Then she got to choose the tribe that she was going to. And then on top of that, she got to boot somebody off of the tribe she was going on to another tribe. That didn't happen because she went to the tribe with 5 anyway. But that was a lot of power from one move to Islands of Secrets. I'm not sure if we're leaning too much into giving people advantages. You know, somebody who's played the game and understands the idea of luck being hugely involved in Survivor and being able to go with the flow and deal with whatever's thrown at you. But if you look at somebody like Rose Lee, who was in a tight 5 alliance and because of the tribe shuffle landed up on a tribe with 2. And Sipei was sent to the Island of Secret by her former tribe. That is hard luck for her. There was no strategic bad on her part to land her up voted off the island. She didn't do enough to try and stay in, but luck, unfortunately, had a lot to play in it. And I think that maybe the Islands of Secrets, you know, I was speaking to somebody from my season and they were saying, you know, imagine I had my type 5 with Tom, Vanner, Annalise, myself, and Katinka, and somebody sent somebody from our 5, or sent somebody who we would, for example, let's say Palesa, we were going to vote her out, and they sent Palesa home that day. We had more options, but if it were one person away from the 5 and you all of a sudden had to turn on each other, it feels like a bit of a hard luck because you've worked so hard to get your numbers and then somebody gets given a lifeline for no good reason. It's hard to deal with when you're on the island. So yeah, we'll see what Islands of Secrets has in store. I can't imagine that it will be forever forward. You're going to skip out on Tribal Council. It's too much. It's too big of a deal. It's not just an immunity idol. An immunity idol, if you think about it, so far has not yet been played properly. Paul's one is, I don't even know where that thing is right now. Jacques screwed his up. It's very difficult to play it properly. And advantages as well, extra votes, skipping votes, all that sort of stuff, very difficult to play properly. But skipping Tribal Council altogether guarantees you're not going home. It's a huge deal. So we're going to have to see where that goes. Hannes says hello. Hi, Hannes. Nice to meet you. Loudmouth says, I cannot for the life of me understand why after last week's idol play, Jacques shared the idol information again. Like, what the F? Jacques is... I'm going grey here a little bit because of Jacques. He is causing me so much anxiety. Yeah, listen. He even admitted when he came back from the beach that he basically shit his pants. He basically screwed up that vote. He misread everything. And I think I addressed last time, and if you missed the previous episode, I have a YouTube channel where I spoke about last week's and spoke a lot about the paranoia that occurs on the island, especially for a team like Jacques, who hadn't yet gone to Tribal Council. There's that anticipation you feel, almost like in the sprint blocks. Not that I'm a sprinter. I don't even like to run if somebody's chasing me, so maybe that's a bad analogy. Anyway, for professional sprinters or even swimmers, when you're on the block and before the gun goes off, there's a lot of anticipation. That's how it is for 7 days before they went into the previous episode's Tribal Council. Your brain starts to do funny things. You start to imagine things. The paranoia is at a level you've never experienced. You've never in your life had to be that paranoid, ever, unless you're Tanya's father and are a bank robber. maybe his paranoia was high. I don't know. So yeah, he screwed that up, and immediately he knew it. So for him to come back and get given a lifeline, go to a new tribe, new island, new idol. Obviously, he went straight for that water wall. If I was Felix, I would never let that man out of my sight, because he will make an idol appear out of the sand somewhere. Who knows? So yeah, and again, I don't know why he shared it. Oh man, and with Felix as well, somebody who he clearly doesn't like or trust. The reaction to that idol information was priceless. Why don't you let me hold on to it, Shark? And then I think I said that to Vanna, didn't I? I'm pretty sure when Vanna dug the idol out the sand that Ace had been looking through, I said, why don't I hold on to that one? You already have one. It never works. But it's worth a try. Well done, Felix, for the effort. Yeah, let's go. What else? Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next episode. What do you think is going to happen? Are they going to continue with 3 tribes for another 3 or 4 episodes, or are we going to go all the way to merge with 3 tribes? What's merge going to be? What number? 10? No, it'll be more than that. I don't know. 10 maybe? 11? It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds, because right now they've kind of been a little unpredictable. Islands of Secrets has been a lot more than I thought it would be, and the tribe swap I thought would have happened after the next episode, and I thought it would go down to 2. I think the chaos of 9 people in a tribe would have been a lot better than the 5 that are, and 6 now, that are in the tribes. But anyway, that's just me. Yeah, so at the moment we've got Paul out, Rosalie, Ting Ting, and Leanne. Ting Ting and Leanne for me are big losses to the characters in the game. Some of the people are very quiet and have yet to sort of stand out as characters. So it's going to be interesting to see. We haven't heard a lot from Maba, although let me just get to the biggest thing on this episode, the chickens. I am somewhat of a chicken expert on Survivor. Hannes says, I talked to you on KFM, called you Survivor. Oh, hi, Hannes. Nice to chat to you on the phone. Chickens. Right. So, I did say this in one of my previous recaps, that I've never once seen an egg on Survivor. I think the other day they were looking in the bushes to see if they would find an egg. If I see an egg, I will eat an egg raw on this recap. Mark my words. Hold me to it. If I see any eggs. But those chickens, the Filipino chickens we had were legitimately crazy. The ones that we got at Luzon were basically... I just want to get to comments before they disappear. Loudmouth says, I prefer 2 tribes, more scope for gameplay. The chickens that we had on Luzon were basically Houdini chickens. I tied them up with their one leg. Gave them long rope, by the way. I sat for hours unraveling rope, tying them together. And these things would untie the knots. But chickens are quite cool animals because they don't stray too far. Actually, the one day our chicken almost got killed by an iguana. Not kidding. They didn't get it on camera because we weren't on the island. But I came back and the chicken had a cut on its leg. And one of the, we figured it out. There were like trails on the sand. And the locals said to me that, when I spoke to them after the show, that iguanas are quite feisty little characters. They're basically mini dinosaurs. So, I put it all together. And, big iguana almost took my chicken. But we had it, I think, the next day. Bianca, yes, you're late. Don't be tardy next time. But don't worry, you can catch the full episode on my YouTube channel later. Maurice Hastings, I think merge is at 11. Final 2 plus 9 at Tribal Council, where the jury is supposed to sit, unless it is 12. And you can vote out a jury member. It's going to be interesting. And I will never presume to make. We didn't know if we were final 2 or 3 when we were sitting final 2 or 3. We were like, is this it? Nope, one more vote. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I do look forward to the chaos of mixing all of these small alliances. I think what they're hoping for is that now with this reshuffle, that the former numbers in the tribes will be shaken up by people trying to get into the alliances. But it's so difficult to not play your numbers in Survivor. You look at the people who you have played with. There's about this much trust that you can give them because you have already played with them and you voted along the same lines. So to all of a sudden want to give that up for a shot in the dark and to maybe put yourself at the bottom of another alliance is really tough. So at the moment they're still playing former tribal alliances, former tribal lines, and I don't know if that's going to change in these small tribes, especially with the 222 tribe, which is at the moment that is Taulo. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think it would have been more dynamic for me as a viewer to watch 2 tribes with possibly three alliances in the tribe. Because if we were going to talk 9-9 at 18, and where are we now? 21 minus 3, 4. So we are now at, it wouldn't have worked out. Could have been 9-9. Anyway, there would have been opportunities to have 3 tribes in each tribe. Alliances, basically. Let me know if I'm losing you. But I think there would have been more opportunity for people to jump and find the cracks with 3 tribes or 3 alliances on each tribe. And I'm looking forward to when that happens. And I think now the shake-up and the Islands of Secrets that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make sure that when we get to merge, there isn't a huge majority in numbers as what happened on our show. They're trying to avoid that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play out. I think for me, this episode was a little bit underwhelming. But I think maybe that's compared to the previous 3. So I'm hoping that next week we get more fire. Jacques seems to be completely all over the place. His relationship with Felix is going to be one to watch. Tanya and Sipe, I think, are 2 to keep an eye on. We've got Rob and Nicole, who seem to be strong and quite tight in that new Taula tribe. It's gonna that Taula tribe for me is going to be interesting to see if they lose and they go to tribal council. 2-2-2 split votes. Do they go to rocks? Does somebody flip? There's a lot of potential for drama there. And then Laume, shame, I don't know. It's Durao seems to be on the bottom. He doesn't seem to be any kind of position to actually play a game. And so it seems as if Sipe, Tanya, Jacques, and Felix will take him out. Hard luck. I wish it was Rosalie still in the game. But that's only because I chose her in my Super Brew, my Fantasy Survivor League. Now I'm down another player. Hey, I can't predict this game. I don't know about you. If you ask me now to pick a winner, I cannot. A lot of people think Nicole is front runner. I cannot pick. The amount of twists and turns that are in that are coming up, it's going to be incredible to watch. So any last questions before we wrap this up? Any last comments that you have on big players to watch? Shame Jeffrey doesn't seem to be anywhere at the moment. Mike and Jeffrey, I thought the challenge was cool to watch, but we haven't had an episode with 2 challenges in a long time, actually. Where they've had a reward challenge and an immunity challenge. So I love an episode with 2 challenges, and trust me, as a castaway on the beach, you look forward to a challenge every day, because when you sit around on a beach, it's absolutely awful doing nothing. The more you sit around, the higher your paranoia level goes, the higher your obsession is for food. And a lot of these people got to eat ribs. Now I need to have ribs. Thank you, Stairs. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Bianca CM says, didn't think it was a great episode either. And Hannah says, Rose didn't really put up a fight. I know, it disappointed me immensely. And I don't want to talk about it, Hannes. Thank you. Well, you can hear me tomorrow. Well, not me. You tune into the show tomorrow, Hannes, KFM. Guys, we're going to wrap it up. Oh, yes, Loudmouth did ask me a question. I didn't address it. He says, if you were Jacques, would you have considered striking up an alliance with Rose or Ralph to vote out Felix? I've had a few minutes to think about this. I don't think so. I think at that point in the game, it's smart to stick with numbers. Because Jacques, at this moment, they need him as a number. So they still don't trust him. He still has an idol. So he's safe for a while. The problem is that what happened if he did go with Dural, voted out Felix, and then they do get to merge in a couple of episodes, he's going to be at the bottom of any alliance. His old tribe won't want him. His new alliance, he'll be on the bottom because Rose and Dural would go back to their old Laume. It's not a great choice for him to make right now. And at the moment, I think the longer that the former Taula will keep him in their trust, it's the better for him. So I think he's got to play it along. And he will get rid of Felix when he's good and ready. That's going to be whoever cuts the first. So if Felix gets rid of Jacques, Jacques gets rid of Felix, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Mario says, last question. If you were on the season, choose 5 castaways you would have wanted to play with and why. Gah! I think I would have liked to have played with Sipe, Quibus, Mike, Rose Lee, and I think Ting Ting. Is that 5? Sipe, Quibus, Mike, Rose Lee, and Ting Ting. 5. Purely because Sipe seems to be level-headed, strong. She seems really smart. Quibus is funny, but he doesn't seem to be in any sort of game mode. So he would have been easily told what to do. Mike is a nice guy, also not super into playing the game. So it would have been easy to be the voice of reason to them. This is what we should do, this is why. And Rose Lee was also calm, level-headed, not super strategy-wise. Also low-key playing the game. And Ting Ting also smart. Somebody who I would have been able to play and strategize with. But yeah, those probably would have been my 5. But I don't know these people from a bar of soap, so who knows? They might have irritated the shit out of me. I may have irritated the shit out of them. Who knows? I was a really annoying person to live with, apparently. So there you go. That's it, guys. Let's wrap it up. I'll chat to you after the next episode. Survivor Thursday, 7 o'clock, Mnet 101. If you missed any of this, you can go back and watch it on my YouTube channel. Otherwise, I will chat to you Sunday after the repeat of episode 5 we're in already. Bye guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll chat to you next time.